Carrie, how are you doing today?
Good, thanks.
Good. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the work I did with Noah, the test that I did with him, and then the lessons that we did together. The first assessment that we did together was a learning style assessment, I did to learn about how Noah likes to learn. I wrote down a few important points from that assessment. He really needs quiet when he reads, and not only did I learn that from this assessment when he directly said so, but just noticing that when we did our lessons, he has a hard time focusing sometimes, and quiet is very important. Another very important thing to him is having choice in his reading material. He noted that he really likes to choose it, and if his teacher assigns him something to read, that he kind of doesn't want to read that. So it's important in his motivation to read when he chooses it. And he also enjoys getting rewards for his work. So, when you notice him doing good work with reading, choosing to read, praising him and things like that. The second assessment we did was an attitude survey to learn about how Noah feels about reading in different situations. Overall, he doesn't hate reading, but if he has another choice of an activity, he's probably going to pick something else, like playing outside or playing on his tablet or phone. He likes talking about what he's reading with his friends, and he likes being able to buy a book or get a magazine subscription. He prefers writing on the computer over paper, and I noticed in our lessons also, we started out, I was having him write a lot of things, and then I decided to let him type his responses, and he does a whole lot better actually when he does that. We did a spelling development assessment, and overall he did very good on that. His spelling isn't perfect obviously, but it's not a big problem for him. Next I did an interest inventory just to see what kind of reading he likes to do, and some of the things were science fiction, fables and myths, mysteries, puzzle books, graphic novels, funny books. He marked poetry books, information books, jokes and riddles, true stories, and how-to books. I asked him a few things about what kind of TV shows he likes, and he mentioned one show that I like myself, Psych, he said was his favorite TV show, so that has a lot of crime fighting and really funny things. Very interested obviously in cars and in sports too, so that's the kind of reading material that is, if you are going to pick something for him, that's a good thing to go to. We did an affix assessment, which is like prefixes and suffixes, like the word parts at the beginning of words and at the end. And that is an area that he could improve on. It would improve his vocabulary skills, and that's something we didn't get it because we only had 8 weeks to work. We didn't have too much of a chance to work on that. We did a few vocabulary words every week that were part of the articles we read, but we didn't specifically get to do that. So with his reading fluency, his word recognition skills are actually very good. That's a strength of his. And he reads with pretty good fluency, but sometimes it's hard to tell that because of his stutter. But it's really not that big of a problem for him because apart from the stutter, he does pretty good with expression and a good appropriate rate, not going too slow or too fast, and his accuracy. So apart from just the smoothness, he's pretty good with that. Another one we did was a knowledge of fix-up strategies, and I have something here. This is a bookmark, right, that lists some fix-up strategies. This is something that I asked him about which fix-up strategies he knew, and I did an assessment where he had to, let's see if I can find any here. He had to basically, I don't have it in this one. He had to mark down where he had to use, to fix up his understanding, right? So fix-up strategy is when you're reading and you notice that you're not understanding and what you can do to fix it.
Okay.
All right, and so he had one that he mentioned that, and it's one right here, just to read ahead and see if it makes sense. But any other tools he really didn't have, so that's something that he still needs a bit of work on. Let's see. Oh, the next assessment, and this was the biggie, is the ARI that I did with him. It consists first of word lists, and he had to read, I'll show you here an example. He had to read word lists, and I would mark down, plus for when they were correct. And let's see, and then I'd mark down his responses when he got the words incorrect. And he was able to get through all of the word lists before getting to our frustration level. So he has good word recognition skills. Let's see. After that, after those, he read passages to me, and then I would write down his mistakes and analyze those to kind of show me what he's thinking. And also before he would read, I would ask him to make a prediction about what he thought the story would be about based on the title, and then I'd have him read the first 2 sentences and then make another prediction and see if he could add on to what he was thinking. After he read, I asked him to retell the story, and then he would answer questions about it. With the making predictions, that's something he struggled a bit with. He would usually just kind of restate the title. I remember one time there was the title was The Bicycle Race. And I said, so what do you think this is going to be about? No, he says, I think this is going to be about a bicycle race. So he makes very literal predictions. That's a skill, to work on with him. So this gave me information about how well he recognizes words and how well he comprehended the story. Let's see. From this assessment, I learned that, like I said, he doesn't make predictions before he reads just naturally. It's not something he just does. And when he does, they're pretty literal. He struggles with retelling and summarizing. So after he reads the story, he has a hard time giving all the important details back.
Do you think, as far as his comprehension, is he comprehending it, but he's just having a hard time?
Well, when I looked at he did up to a certain extent, but that is the area he struggles in, is comprehension, because he reads it and then he's not understanding it. So, and we'll get to a little bit about why that is too. So yeah, he answered questions about each of the passages, and that showed me his struggles with comprehension. This also enabled me to determine what his reading levels are. So this tells you right here he was independent level, if 4th grade reading level, he could read something at that level without any help at all and totally understand it. 5th grade level work was what they call definite instructional, so he would need help with that. And then 6th grade level was transitional instructional, even more hard for him. But at grade level, 7th grade, it was frustration level for him. He's not able to even really he would need a lot of help to be able to understand 7th grade passages, both in just regular literature, like fiction, and informational text, like his science textbook, for instance. He cannot understand his science textbook without, assistance. It's too hard for him. We did listening capacity one level above grade level, and that was frustration for him too. So, let's see. All right, and this is just what we were going to work on a bit. Okay, so for our work together, his main issue was reading comprehension, is understanding what he's reading. So that was the focus of all of our lessons. We worked on strategies specifically designed to help him comprehend better. And another thing, when he's reading, a lot of times he's reading the words but not thinking about the meaning. And so these strategies that we worked on help him with that. So we worked on visualization, so kind of imagining in your mind what you just read. Summarization, making inferences, and that means kind of reading between the lines of what the author has said. So a lot of times, authors will write things, but they don't say everything that they're trying to say, you know what I mean? We did examples with jokes with this. So if you're able to get the punchline of a joke, you're going to have to make an inference, right? So, let's see. But that's an area he's going to work on. Asking questions. So purposefully when he's reading, thinking of questions that he has in his mind, just paying attention to that, and making connections, which that is when things remind you of other things. There are 3 kinds of connections. I have this paper here. This is there's 3 kinds of connections. Text to text, that's when what you're reading reminds you of something else you've read. Text to self is when what you read reminds you of something that happened to you or something in your own life. Or text to world, which is when what you read reminds you of something from the real world. Right. And making predictions. And that's something that I like to have him do at the beginning of every lesson that we do when he looks at a text. It's very good to have him look at all the things like the pictures, the titles, subtitles, the captions, everything like that, and to think about those and make predictions about what it's going to be about. That's very helpful to do. And to also think about what he already knows about a subject. That'll help him too, and that's something that I've been working on him to do every time before he reads. When he reads, and I'll show you some examples in what we've been doing. We have been doing what's called coding his text, which is basically when he reads and has a thought, it's a way to like write down. So if he has one of those connections we were talking about, like text to text, he'd write that T-T, T-S for the text itself, and T-W for the text to world. If there was an important point, he'd put like a star. If it was just an interesting point, he'd put an exclamation mark. That for question, A for answer, I for inference. I'm trying to see where. There we go. So here's an example of, this is here. He wrote I for important this time. But what he did was he's making tracks of his thinking. He's showing his thinking. And what that does, it really helps him to focus on the meaning and pay attention to if he's understanding or not. Okay, and this is something I'd really like him to continue working on because it helps him. It really, really does. When he does that, since he's paying attention to the meaning, then he understands. So, let me see some more things that he was doing there. Okay, let's see. Oh, and this is for you to take home because, I would like him to continue doing this, especially at school. If you can, encourage his teachers to have him do this.
Okay.
And if there are like books or texts where he can't write on it, I have given him a bunch of sticky notes, small ones, so he can, write his code on there or his thought and just stick it right there.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. All right. So I've written down some thoughts, some suggestions. He enjoys reading somewhat, but like I said, but he doesn't choose to do it if there's other options. So one good idea would be to set aside a period of time, like every day, maybe just start with 10, 15 minutes and take his phone. But just to have him read and maybe even have like the other kids and you read at the same time. That's very important, and I know it's hard because he's a lot of brothers and sisters for it to be quiet. Even I know with him he's used earplugs or headphones, because if there's the noise, he's not going to be able to focus. And we talked about that. Oh, and discuss Noah's reading with him. I know you actually enjoy, reading and young adult literature too, so even if you're not reading it with him, but just talking about it with him, asking him, so what happened with what you're reading today? What part did you like the best? Things like that.
Okay.
What do you think is going to happen next? Encourage him to use the sticky notes that he's been given, and I can always give him more when he needs some. To mark his text when he has the inferences and the makes connections and stuff, so you can have that to use with him. Like we talked about at the beginning, allowing him to choose his own books for independent reading is very important. He really dislikes, when he has to read books that are assigned to him. When he has to choose a book, have him look at like the cover, the inside front of the jacket, and the back and things like that, and read the first few pages, and to see if he's understanding it. And like I said, if he's choosing his own reading material, he's going to just be so much more motivated. He can even read harder things that he wouldn't be able to read if he wants to. So that's the important thing. All right, so did you have any questions about anything we talked about?
I don't think so. I think you covered everything really well, and I appreciate you taking the time with Noah to...
Well, anytime, and actually and I have talked with him about this, if you want to continue working with him over the summer, that'd be just fine, because I think over the summer kids can lose a lot of their learning from school, and that would be helpful. Oh, and I also have on this bookmark on the other side, it's a reminder of his strategies, so he can use that in his book too.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.